Hello, I'm Tom Gellis, and today I'm privileged to have the Honorable Clifford A. Morton, Mayor of Bethel Park, who is coming to the end of 16 continuous years as Mayor of Bethel Park. We're here for a retrospective on the mayor's tenure, how he arrived in Bethel Park, and how he started his community involvement. Welcome, Mayor.
Thank you. Good to be here, Tom. Good seeing you again.
Well, Mayor, let's get right to it.
Let's do it.
How did you get started? Where do you come from?
Well, I came from a little farming country up in northern Pennsylvania, a little town called Spartansburg, as a matter of fact, between Meadville and Corry. And because most of the people up there were dairy farmers, we were no exception, and all the boys learned at a very young age a good work ethic, and it's paid off for me for many, many years. And also paid off for me when my high school teacher suggested that I take more of a leadership role as I got through school. I ended up being the class president of my class for 4 years. And after I left high school, graduated, went down to Allegheny College in Meadville and left after 1 year. Found out, I guess, I wasn't quite ready for college, and so I had to move on. So that summer, I got a job on the Great Lakes. I spent the summer and the fall of that year shipping ore on the Great Lakes. Great experience, and loved that job. But the Korean War was on, and some of my buddies had joined the Marine Corps, and others had gone, the Army, the Navy, whatever. And I thought, I guess I'd better go ahead and do that too. So I joined the Marine Corps of January of that year, and had some interesting experiences.
In the sense of good disclosure or full disclosure, we're both Marines.
Yes.
So Semper Fi, first of all.
Semper Fi.
Thank you for your service, Mayor.
Thank you.
Honestly,
too.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah.
Boot camp.
Boot camp.
What is your fondest, if there was a fondest memory of your time at boot camp? Which one did you attend?
Parris Island.
Okay.
Parris Island. I don't know if it was my fondest, but it was one that I certainly shall never forget. And it was a few weeks after we were in the boot camp, and the drill instructors had to select a platoon leader out of the platoon, and they picked me, and I was honored to get that position, and it was working fine. But one day, I don't know what our platoon did or who it was or what, but the DEIs got mad at us and decided they were going to punish us, run us around the parade field till everybody dropped. And I said to myself, no way am I going to drop. And down, around, and around we went, and I could see my buddies sitting on the side and everything, and nothing really was registering except what I was doing, but it was registering enough to know who that was. Next thing I know, the assistant drill instructor is running beside me and ordering me to stop. And I didn't stop, and he yelled at me a second time, and then I finally got awakened enough that I guess I better stop before this gets any worse. So the only downside of that was I had to go see the psychiatrist the next day, and it was a colonel, really a nice guy. And so we sat and chatted for a few minutes, and he asked me how I felt, and I had to tell him my story, what happened, and he let me go. That was the end of it. That was the end of it. But the good part of it was on graduation day from Parris Island, I was selected as the outstanding Marine, and that was an honor because the colonel sent my mother a nice letter about that, and she was so thrilled about that. And of course, I was honored to have that.
Some of the people that are not Marines or don't know about the Marine culture, it is a true honor, and my understanding is it's the honor man for the platoon, correct?
That's correct.
I'm assuming that that's what you were named.
Yes.
And that is a significant honor and award to be given to a recruit at the end of recruit training. Those drill instructors were like your mother, father, sister, and brother for the, was it 11 weeks roughly?
No, it was more than that. Well, we were 3 months.
Okay.
I guess that's 12.
Okay.
Yeah, 11 or 12.
So that part of it toughened you up a little bit.
Well, yes, absolutely. Following that, a year or two later, I was approached by my commanding officer of our company and asked me if I thought I'd be interested in going to Officers Candidate School. And at the time, I said, yeah, I think so. Well, I didn't hear back, and I didn't hear back, and I didn't hear back. And finally, I was getting down to maybe a year left. I thought, well, if it comes now, I'm not going to do it. And that's the decision I made. I chose to quit and go back to school and go take on with my life.
So at any point in time when you first enlisted, was there ever a thought in your mind to make the military and Marines a career?
Yes, as a matter of fact. I think I might have had I gone to Officers Candidate School. But even then, without my college degree, it was going to be a tough climb.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So you've taken us now to the end of your Marine Corps time. You're out of the Marines.
Yep.
Go ahead and continue, Mayor.
Well, I had met what became my wife later on. In fact, that during that year, as a matter of fact, I met her at Allegheny College. We were both freshmen together, and we stayed in touch. Well, actually, we were out of touch for a year or so. Finally, I wrote her a letter from Camp Lejeune. She was shocked to get it, and she answered my letter. We started going out a little bit when I would be home, and anyway, to make a long story short, we ended up getting married up at Allegheny on her graduation day. So our anniversary coincides with her graduation.
And how long have you been married?
57 years.
Oh, congratulations, Mayor. That's a
thank
significant number of years in today's modern era.
Yes, it is.
So you and your wife
Yeah.
should be congratulated on that.
Well, thank you. So after I got out, then I finished my college work down at W&J, got my bachelor's degree at Washington Jefferson, got a master's in English at Indiana, Pennsylvania, and decided I wanted to be an English teacher. So I taught school right here in Bethel Park, as a matter of fact, in the old Park Avenue School. I was at the middle school and then went over to high school for a couple of years. But after 5 years, I had to leave teaching because my wife, we had two children in the meantime, and she was also a teacher. In fact, she had gone home to teach the fall before I had got out of the Marine Corps. We were down at Camp Lejeune all summer, had a great summer, and then she went home to teach. And then the rules at the time for the girls was, if you're pregnant and it's showing, you can't teach. And that was the rules. Worked out well for her in the long run, but that's what happened.
Let me take you back just real quick. You stated that you got married up at Allegheny. Mm-hmm. Is that correct? How did you work your way back and get down here to Bethel Park to do the teaching that you talked about?
She had her teaching job was that she had before we ever got married. I mean, she wasn't working at it, but she was going to start being a teacher. Was over at Baldwin.
Okay.
So when I came back, we just decided we were already married. We would live in this area because she had the job.
Gotcha.
I had to go to school, so that was a good fit. I was going to W&J and she was going to Baldwin.
During your teaching time now, is this when your community service started, or is there still some period of time where you're concentrating on teaching before you got started into the community service that led up to your political career?
It all happened about the same time, maybe we had bought a house over on Ashland, a small house. That's where the children were born, and they were now 5, 6 years old, and we knew we needed more room, so we then bought the lot where we are and built a house on that lot. And she, in the meantime, when she went back to teaching, it was in Bethel Park, and so we were just all there. So what was your question? Sorry about that.
What got you started into your political career?
Okay,
the transition,
yeah.
if there was one, from teaching to the politics.
Yes. Well, obviously after that 5th year, when when this happened, I had to get a better job. I mean, we were starving. Well, on one teacher's salary, the 4 of us. So I got a nice job on U.S. Steel, and that was probably where I really started to get interested in the community. And so what I did early on, I didn't know it was going to happen, but when I got down at U.S. Steel, there were some guys down there that belonged to the JCs. Do you remember them, the JCs?
I do. I recognize that.
It was a young man's organization, and they emphasized leadership, public speaking, community service, all that stuff. It was great. It was great. So I did that. The thing about it was, when you were 40, you were kicked out of the JCs. You couldn't be in the JCs after 40 years old. You were considered an exhausted ruler. No, rooster. Exhausted rooster. I'm sorry.
Literally, did they refer to you folks as that?
That's right. That was always the joke. He always said, "Oh, he's an exhausted rooster," so we knew what that was. And so then I would make a point of trying to meet people, and I met Bethel's first mayor, Jim Simmons. Mayor Simmons not only was the first mayor, but he was also our state legislator at the time. He had two political jobs. And since then, or after that, I should say, I actually have met and talked with and gotten to know all of the mayors before me. There were 6 before me. So some of them served a year, some of them part of a year. When Mayor Page died, he was in his I want to say 14th year, thereabouts. And one of the council people, by our home rule charter at that point in time, the president, I think, of council became the mayor. Or they got him appointed somehow. And so I knew the one, and he actually served less than a year. He just finished the term. And they certainly were a diverse group, the mayors before me. And throw me in their mix, we're all different.
Now, at any point in time, did all of you ever get together at one time and chat? Or did you meet them individually?
I really met them individually because I had a little program going right after I got elected in my office upstairs out in the hallway. I thought, wouldn't it be nice if all the mayors in the past pictures here? So I made that little thing a project of mine, and they're still up there, of course.
I'm familiar with that.
And they were very gracious. They got the pictures for me, and they were pleased for it. And I saw a lot of their family would come in, and I could hear them talking out in the hall about their father or their grandfather, whatever. None of my family ever came and looked at it. I'm kidding.
Now, you're the longest tenured mayor, or
Yeah.
the mayor that has served the longest in number of terms here in Bethel Park.
Yes.
When you chatted with your predecessors, did the conversation revolve around Bethel Park, and what did you learn from them?
Really, I really didn't learn anything about being a mayor because when I talked to them, I didn't really have that in mind. In fact, I never had it in mind. And so I was retired from U.S. Steel in '82. And shortly after that, Alan Hoffman was a mayor. He was a councilman, and then he became the mayor. And he only wanted to serve one term. So one day he called me and asked if himself and 2 council people, 2 ladies, could come to the house and talk to me. I said, what about? And he said, well, just let it come over and we'll talk to you. So he had chosen not to run. He called. They came over. They told me what they wanted. I said, no, I am happy doing what I'm doing. I don't want to do this. This conversation probably went on for 15 minutes, 20 minutes maybe. I kept saying no. Finally, my wife Joan was in the other room. I think she heard part of this. I'm not certain what she heard. But I suggested, well, we'll get Joan in here and ask her what she thinks. And in my mind, I'm thinking, she does not want me to do this. I don't have any problem. She'll say, no way. You know what she said? She said, I think that's a wonderful idea. So I was cooked then, no question. But I never once regretted it from that time on. I guess deep in my heart, I really did want to be something besides it.
Now, going back to, go ahead, I'm sorry.
The only experience I had in politics was prior to that. In the early 70s, I had a 6-year term with the school board. But that was it.
I was going to ask you, what all of a sudden you decided to be mayor. I want to go back with the 16 years, so that puts us into the mid to late 90s, am I not correct? Mm-hmm. I was a resident of Bethel Park at that time. I actually remember that time when Mayor Hoffman decided not to run.
Oh, okay.
So I remember that whole scenario. I remember it.
Yes.
That time frame. So now you decide to run, and you are elected the first time that you run?
Yes.
Very good.
Yep.
Now, on becoming mayor, what was that like, becoming mayor of Bethel Park?
Well, it's kind of overwhelming in a way. You really don't know what you're supposed to do. But in our case, being a home rule charter, it's pretty well spelled out for us what our duties are and what we can do and what we should do and what we must do. So that helped. Another thing that helped was they do this with every newly elected officials who've never been elected before. They have class for them down at Pitt, and you're required to go. And I learned a lot there too.
What did you think about Election Day for yourself that first time?
Oh, I just couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it.
Is it as much work as we see? And I know the national level is way up there.
Yeah.
You're at the local level, but the excitement, the anxiety, is it all there?
It is.
You're having the hustle, right, to make people want to vote for you.
Oh, sure. You got to go out and walk, and talk to people and greet them and pass out your literature. And that's all part of the campaign thing.
Now, all that background that we've talked about prior to this point, did that help you out? Your high school time as a leader, the Marine Corps, all of the time at U.S. Steel, did it all help you?
Oh, sure.
In that people meeting? And you have to be willing to do that. You just,
Yeah.
I admire you. For anybody that gets into politics, you got to have thick skin. That's my belief. So I admire you and thank you for what you're doing when as mayor.
Well, thank you for that. But I never ran into too many things that upset me from what the people had to say. But I know. I think the council takes more of a beating than the mayor does.
Now you're saying the home rule charter pretty much spells out what you can and can't do.
Mm-hmm.
The responsibilities of the mayor.
Yes.
Can you let the people know generally what do you have? What's the biggest that you feel that you have to do that's delineated by the home rule charter,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have some discretion on?
Actually, it spells out here early on in the charter, boundaries that the municipality has and so on and so on. Now they get down to the mayor, and first thing is you have to realize that you are being recognized as the spokesman of the municipality. And so anytime anything happens, you're kind of out front with it, talking about it or whatever. And then the term of office and the eligibility and so on. You sign ordinances for one thing. And one of the big things that everyone seems to know is that the mayor gets to vote only if there's a tie in council.
Okay.
We haven't had one in 15 and a half years. So I keep telling Tim, our president, hey, how about getting a tie? I got to get a tie. Well, we laugh about that. General powers and duties, as I mentioned, he's recognized as a spokesman for the town. He has to execute or authenticate instruments as required by the Charter Council or state or federal law. Study the operations of the government, the local government, report to council, the state of the municipality with recommendations for ways to improve municipal affairs. And we do that once a year. There's the mayor's report. It's called the annual mayor's report. And as you go along through the year, you're thinking about this really should come out. And some of the years I did pretty good because the council liked it. A couple of times they didn't, so I sensed it. Mm-hmm. Well, I better stay away from some of these things. But it's not difficult to do. And probably a big one is you'd be recognized by the governor as the head of the government for purposes of martial law or for emergencies, floods, storms, whatever. If it comes down to that where we need state help, you're the man that's got to talk to the governor or his man or whatever. That I never had to do either. So they're very, very general and very light. And the nice thing about it is that you can do your own agenda beyond what this says. So
now I noticed that you have the 100-year club or the birthday club.
90 plus. Club.
90 plus. Now, is that something that you came up with?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm actually impressed by that. Whenever I see that you recognize those individuals during the council meetings, I think that's a very, very nice gesture. With that being said, What about some of your accomplishments during the 16 years that you've been mayor?
Well, that was one, and it was a big one. And when I first started talking about this, and we were looking for people who were 90 years old or older who lived in town, it wasn't until I think I started talking about it more on television, and October came along shortly after that, and we had a luncheon for those people that we knew. And we've had one ever since. Every October we have a luncheon for all of our seniors. And they are so appreciative of it. They just can't wait for it. I've talked to some fellows that I know, they're 89 years old, and they said, "You're going to buy my lunch when I'm 90." And I said, "Well, you're going to have to wait for October." "Oh, wait, I don't want to wait till October." So we had some fun with that. But I do two things really with that. Every month, the secretary will make up birthday cards for the people who are born in that month. And then I put a personal note on every one of them. She mails them out. And then, as I mentioned, we do the luncheon. And it works well. The other thing I was always kind of proud of was painting the street sign poles all orange. And that was all done by volunteers. You know, it was the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, different people who got in on that one. And that I had a little problem with it wasn't really a problem. It was just that the director of Public Works at the time wasn't too sure they wanted to paint all the poles orange. Yeah, but that worked out all right. We actually primed them with a reddish color, and everybody said, why are we having red poles? You know, dirty red. I said, it's going to be orange eventually, so that's the way it worked. The banner program was another one that I initiated. And I felt kind of sorry for Mayor Hoffman, because he had tried to get permission to put banners on the poles, and he got turned down at every turn. And when I came up with the idea, well, I'm going to try this one more time, I happened to run into the right guy and told us how to do it. So really, it was his program, and it just never got off the ground. But we got them up, and they're still flying. Good program. Along the trolley line, as you know, we've always tried to do flower gardens, and we keep losing our gardeners faster than we can get the gardens cleaned up. So I'm still working on that, trying to do something with that. And I'm proud of some of the things that we did, and I emphasize we on these things because I didn't do them, but I was involved in them. The opening of Millennium Park.
Fantastic facility.
Yeah, great facility. The community center, the gymnasium.
Another nice.
Yeah.
I'm proud of that as a resident of Bethel Park.
Oh, all the residents are. They like their community center and their gymnasium. The clock tower was an afterthought. That wasn't in there by the architect. That wasn't there at all. And I got this idea. I had driven down someplace, and I went through this little town where they had clocks on the corners. I thought, wouldn't that be nice? We put a clock there. Well, then it kind of got out of hand. Now it became a tower, which I was pleased because we got a real nice stipend from a lady in town who wanted to honor her dead husband. And so that's how we really were able to afford it.
Speaking of the community center, was there any nostalgia there because you had the Sacrifice Park Avenue School? And I know that had fun memories for you, teaching-wise. Any thoughts, or did that come into play when the community center?
No, I think it probably would have had that building been worth saving. Might have been more in your heart, but it had gotten so ratty and so bad it just had to come down. So no to answer your question, Tom. The Montour Trail opened during my term, and the Veterans Memorial came in there.
Yeah, Veterans Memorial is fantastic. The Montour Trail, I love it.
Yes.
I hope that the residents of Bethel Park understand what we have when it comes to the Montour Trail. And again, you and I can both appreciate, probably without saying, the Veterans Memorial. Mm-hmm. And it makes me emotional even right now talking about it. But there are a lot of conversations that I hear now at the national level where our theme, sacrifice is meaningless without remembrance, is just so apropos. If I ever talk to a politician at the upper levels, I'll say that's all you have to think about when it comes to the veterans who have sacrificed so much for the freedoms that we enjoy here in the United States.
Absolutely.
And again, there's nothing too much that we can do for veterans.
Yeah.
And again, obviously I'm biased, you're biased, but the veterans should want for nothing. And I do applaud you for your part in bringing the Veterans Memorial to fruition, as well as the Veterans Memorial Committee.
They did a great job. They really did. And
It's a quality facility.
we were looking at the gymnasium. I think we were down to the point where we had to select a floor. And gymnasium floors, you know, can run from Cadillacs to
Yes, sir.
Model Ts. So the architect knew we didn't really have a lot of money, and so he was trying to stay within the budget. And when we looked at it, Jim Hanna and I were looking at the floor, and I said, you know, I'd like to have that maple floor. He said, so would I. He said, we've got to have that. We've got to do it. We only get one shot at it. That's what he said. We only get one shot. So then we went back and started pushing this a little bit with the other councilmen, and it became almost unanimous, I think, on the vote to go ahead and do the best floor there was.
Excellent.
And it certainly gets used. Certainly gets used.
What are some of your fondest memories?
I think campaigning was fun. I like that. Election nights were always fun, especially when you win. I never lost, so I don't know how that really feels. I was lucky, I guess. I love the Community Day, Memorial Day, and I was honored this year to be able to speak at the memorial services. And that the committee on the memorials selects the speaker, and that. So I was honored to do that. The 90 Plus Club luncheons, of course, we already talked about. They're well in my heart. And mainly the council and the staff that we have here right now. It's really an honor to be working with these people. They're all good people, and they mean the best for Bethel Park, and there's especially council. They're great. Cutting ribbons and groundbreaking ceremonies are always fun. You get to know what the deal is there, and of course, it was exciting to see the building and the opening of the new high school. So them are good memories. And of course, there's a lot of other things. Actually, probably should have put on there. The best memory is the people that you meet every day.
Well, I've grilled you a lot, Mayor, in this retrospective, and what I'd like to do now is give you an opportunity for some closing comments.
I got a couple of comments, yeah. I would say Mayor-elect Jack Allen, for example, was elected to council the same year I became mayor, so he's got the same tenure I have, and so he's going to be coming. He's been a good councilman, an excellent councilman, and I'm sure he'll be an excellent mayor. And I would just have one piece of advice for him. Be the mayor and let the council be the council. If you stay out of their hair, they'll stay out of yours. And that worked that way for me. And again, I just want to thank all the people of Bethel Park for their support and their friendship over the years. It's been great.
Well, Mayor, on behalf of the residents of Bethel Park, I want to thank you for your 16 years of service.
Thank you.
Again, to the community. Once again, thank you for your service to our country. As a Marine and as a fellow Marine, I thank you. And thank you very much for being on the program. Wish you a lot of luck in retirement, and I do admire you for doing what you did for 16 years.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Been my honor.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a retrospective of Mayor Clifford A. Morton. I'm Tom Gellis. Thank you very much.